I'd like to welcome everyone to this council meeting of February 21st, 2024. We're starting right on time, just about a little bit early. I'd like to acknowledge that the meeting is taking place in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have all members of council present, no regrets. So far, for additions to the agenda, I have removing motion 7 from Medic, just because the motion didn't get finally articulated in time for the more discussion.
Okay.
And there are 2 pieces under correspondence, simply because I forgot that email is also correspondence, and I'll go over those and give them to Tim. So, are there any other changes to the agenda?
There's one add.
Yes, for in camera, there's an addition. So under your in camera, in addition to the contract negotiation, you have personnel. Are there any other changes? So if there are no further changes, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. Are there any changes, errors, or omissions in the council minutes of January 24th, 2024? If there are no changes, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. And now we get to the fun stuff. We have 2 presentations, and I'm not sure, Melanie, which goes first, but we have the Board of Police Commissioners bylaw public meeting first. All right, so we'll open with that. Did we receive any written submissions?
I did not.
Not received. And is there public input tonight into the Board of Police bylaw? Board of Police Commissioners bylaw. Okay. All right. So there closes the public input part of the bylaw portion of our meeting. So does anybody care to make the motion for second reading?
I would approve to the second reading of the Board of Police Commissioners bylaw and send to the Minister of Justice for final approval.
Second.
Ready for the question?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried, thank you. And now, more excitement, presentation by the healthcare task team. Yay. Come on in. There's
Hi,
lots
come
of
in.
room.
We just started. We were a couple of minutes early.
We just got to the good stuff.
Take a seat.
Okay, and who do we have presenting?
Sybil Skinner Robertson, and we're just gonna try to get this to. Okay, everybody can see the presentation?
Yeah.
Great, so I'm gonna start standing up just so you can all see me for a minute, and then I have to sit down because my cord is too short. So, my name's Sybil Skinner Robertson. I'm here to present to you on behalf of the healthcare task team that we did last year. As an appendix to the presentation I shared, we've listed some of the activities that we undertook. In the course of that, I think it became obvious to us on the committee that there were a lot of things that we might be able to do to help support the town, the mayor and the town council and the community with regard to healthcare issues. So I wanted to start by thanking you for allowing us to undertake those activities, but also to come here tonight and present. So as I said, I'm Sybil. I'm a retired healthcare professional. I'm trained and worked as a nurse and then transitioned into other healthcare roles, spent about 30 years doing that. I also have a PhD in pharmacology. So I'm pretty passionate about healthcare issues, pretty passionate about people having, options to live in this wonderful town with lots of good things happening for them health-wise. So I'm gonna move to slide 2 now. So as we sat, we wanted to think about why should you guys think it's important to deepen your focus in healthcare? Well, I put it into sort of 2 buckets. The first bucket being there's some pretty immediate concerns, and then there's some maybe longer term things that we want to think about. The events of the last few days, I guess people have seen this stuff on Facebook and CTV and CBC. We're in some pretty serious circumstances in this town in particular and in Annapolis County. So the healthcare system is going through a lot of rapid changes. It's daily, it's earth shaking in terms of the breadth and scope. And it's not always thought out in the most careful way about how things are going to impact people in rural communities and how ideas that are created at a very high level actually translate into reality. And so we're seeing situations where Annapolis residents are, suffering and even in some cases dying because there's a disconnect between the services provided and then the way they work when they're on the ground. So we also think that the system is under strain. I think that's obvious to everyone. Annapolis Royal has a kind of unique situation because our community grows so much in the summer, and that's partly people who are summer residents, but then we've got people coming from all over the world to see this town, and we want them to be safe when they're here also.
Yeah.
So that's a particular focus for Annapolis Royal. It's my perception that Nova Scotia Health keeps sending us a lot of great materials on everything we can do. I'm a healthcare professional who's navigated the system, and I'm confused about where to go, when, for what. And I think that we could provide some great service to the people of this town by helping them to navigate that. And then I think that this is an amazing town in terms of what we offer people for healthy lifestyle throughout their lifespan. And I think we could think about that as a focus in the future for that team reporting into council. And then people can be drawn to a community when they know they can come here and have decent healthcare and be safe. And then that's maybe another reason for us to keep a pulse on that. So I'll pause in case anybody wants to say anything, or okay, I'll move to slide 3. So the next thing is, what can we do? Because it's a pretty big system. It's the money comes federally, it's controlled provincially. We can feel really disempowered in the face of a bunch of people who speak, government speak, and speak, healthcare systems speak. But we do have a locus of control here, and we have to take it, right? If we just let ourselves be passive victims of the decisions that are being made elsewhere, they're not going to have our best interests in heart. Will we win 100% of the time? No, but to quote the great Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take on goal, right? So I think we have a history of, as a town, of overcoming challenges and leading the way for other communities, rural communities in Nova Scotia. And I think we can really contribute not only to the well-being of our citizens, but make the message that rural Nova Scotians need to be looked after also. I think that this town council could be a voice of leadership for many of those other rural communities, showing them the way and how to respond to some of these things that are sort of pushed towards us that we may not always agree with. I think that we can identify resident health as an important concern for our community. We've got people of all ages. Sometimes we're seen as a retirement community. I beg to differ. My husband coached soccer last year. There were 43 and unders on my grandson's team, and 2 teams of 30. 5 and unders on my granddaughter's team. So we are a community of all ages, and we need to think about health across the lifespan. I think we can find ways, as I said, to help our residents navigate some of that information that's coming. For me, a couple of specific examples is we could make specific local resource guidelines. So not just call your local, urgent care center, call this person, then do this, then do that, so that people can access the system effectively. Now, why is that important? It makes the system more efficient and makes sure that people get the right level of care sooner when they need it. We can help people learn how to use Maple. We don't have a family doctor, so we use it all the time. We're kind of used to that way of interacting with the healthcare system, but not everybody is. So we can, help educate people in the town about that. And then I got a little bit of blue sky thinking here, literally. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the concept of blue zone communities.
Yes.
Yeah. So in preparing for this,
Yes.
I looked at what are the characteristics of a blue zone community. And we actually have an awful lot of them. So one of the most important things is the ability for people to engage with community, to engage in a meaningful way with their life. The walkability of communities is critical, that people can get out and they specifically make the point, it's not about running a marathon and being the Ironman and lifting all the weights and everything. It's, can you navigate through your activities of daily life with adequate strength and comfort to do them? And are there opportunities in your community and your life to keep practicing those things so you don't lose them as you age. So, I think we can do that. We have a plethora of wonderful, healthy, locally grown food that we can, access more in the summer, but we can still get it year round. And those are some of the hallmarks of those blue zone communities. So if we're looking to the future, should we be thinking about talking more about Annapolis in that light? I think so, but we'll see if you guys agree. So I'll just move now to the more technical part. So I'm gonna sit down because I have to look at this. So as the healthcare task team put together a proposal for a standing committee on healthcare. We think that you guys have a critical role in advocating for sustainable, effective, and accessible healthcare services in our community. We think that Annapolis Royal is a place with unique opportunities to provide our residents with healthcare across their lives, not healthcare, but health across their lifespan. Residents of Annapolis Royal deserve effective access to efficient healthcare that delivers optimal service. And that, to me, is where the immediate need is. We've got to start telling people, hey, it's not working for us. We need you to look for solutions where people aren't waiting 2 hours for ambulance service. Where people are not, we're not losing people because they can't access service before it's a fatal event. Healthcare services are critical determinants of the socioeconomic health of our community. Mm-hmm. A viable town healthcare ecosystem is critical to ensuring the vitality of the town through the retention and attraction of residents, businesses, and visitors. One thing that keeps coming to my mind, what if that had been a tourist who was out there for 2 hours? Mm-hmm. What would that say for our community, Mm-hmm. And then being able to access services within the rapidly evolving healthcare system requires information and resources and maybe translation for some people who are less used to some of the more modern, for lack of a better word, ways of accessing the system, not used to navigating the system. And there are people in the community who have, healthcare backgrounds who can help be the translators for that and support you guys in making sure that our residents can access what they need. So our mandate, what we would propose to be our mandate at least, is to enable the town council and mayor to respond in a timely, thorough, and coordinated manner to advocate for Annapolis Royal by assessing, monitoring, and providing advice on the current Nova Scotia healthcare ecosystem and ongoing transitions, so we can scan the environment, put together bullet points about things that are important for you to know should somebody approach you or pressure you on something. We can talk to residents around the town and understand what are they thinking and compile that for you. We can identify needs and opportunities to improve local access to healthcare so that you're aware of them. And then when you have opportunities to be talking to other levels of government or out in the public, you have ready to hand information that you can trust and to use a corporate word, messaging that makes sense. We can provide, we can recommend ongoing proactive measures to educate, promote healthful living and lifespan, and provide feedback on healthcare issues. So we think that if we can pull together a standing committee, we can bring to you this kind of information, those kind of resources on a regular basis. Of course, it would always be under your auspices, with your approval, but we can be a resource for you of people who, are perhaps used to navigating the system or used to interacting or have the time to interact with a lot of other people in the community to understand. So I think that's my last slide. So in my last job, I would have to tell you what my ask is now. So my ask is that you support the idea of convening a standing committee on healthcare to report into the town council and address many of the issues that I've just outlined.
Thank you, members of council.
Good. Does anybody else have any?
Yeah, sorry, sitting there.
What's the county doing at this time with regards to, do they have a standing committee or do they have anything that's tied to this, your group?
I'm not aware of anything, are you?
I think so. So the numbers that are affecting our healthcare here in town tend to be from the county.
Yeah, I understand it's between 6 and 10,000 people that utilize the services of the town, which obviously is a lot bigger than the town.
Well, there may be variance in numbers, the issues are still the same.
Yeah, so that's, I was wondering why, was there any consideration to reach out to the county and see if they would do it like a joint standing committee on this, because it's not, we have our issues here. But the bigger issues are coming from the outside of here, because they're being, we're being overwhelmed by 6 to 10,000 people from the county coming in. We talk about delays, like you mentioned in tourists being taking 2 hours to get picked up, but that's not here in the town. That's a county thing. So, but the issues behind it tend to be lack of EMTs, lack of services to take them to. They're, we're closed, or you're going to Middleton, they're closed, you're going to Digby, they're closed, you're going to Yarmouth, Kentville.
Yeah,
So these are issues that affect the region, and we're one point in that region. So I'm just wondering if you guys had an opportunity to bring in that council.
we have not yet, I don't know if you would have
No.
seen anything different, but I think that this is, somebody needs to step forward and take the leadership on it, and if we could start with a committee here, we can reach out to people and create something joint.
Yeah,
Good.
certainly. You've got an advisory committee on environment, an advisory committee on accessibility. And certainly health should be, as important. Whether there's opportunity at some point, because of course we do know that a lot of our advisory committees who live in the county, we could perhaps have a representative from county council sitting on your advisory committee. That's the case with environment, is it?
It was,
It was.
and we are moving towards that. We
Yeah.
have a position we could fill with a county person.
Yeah, so same model, just more another issue.
I can say that I met with someone this morning about reinitiating the fun run for natal days, and they're quite eager. I told them my idea about blue zones, and they're super thrilled to be involved in thinking about that. So, that's an end to that. It's not exactly what you're asking for, but, I think once we get some momentum and excitement going,
Yeah.
we'll bring other people, and, the more voices that are saying to the government, you need
We
to
need help.
pay attention to us, we need help, the better.
I don't think borders matter right now. I think somebody just needs to step forward and kind of lead.
There is an intermunicipal working group that's very active. We meet once a month now with Middleton and the
Yeah.
county. So that's working well.
So we could provide you with
Absolutely.
materials to
We
attend
can
that.
Have that added to their agenda. It's our
I was
agenda.
just gonna suggest that, so yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, no, it'd be
We have a
good.
meeting here, actually. We
Tomorrow
don't
night.
Where they go, yeah. tomorrow night. So it's
The timing's
certainly
good on having material in hand that we can drop off to them and take a look at it, because,
Yeah.
something. And Councillor Weir.
I had a similar question to our deputy mayor. Not so much the county, but is there any, shall we call, say, grassroots groups in existence in the local area? I know there have been groups in the past that have been associated with what is now the health center or whatever we call it. But is there anything like that at this point?
Again, probably better than I do. I'm aware of things that are sort of single issue or focused on a particular age group. And, I guess another mission that I have coming to town with, 2 grandchildren now living here is that people stop thinking of this as a town full of seniors. We're a town full of people across the lifespan. And so I think that having something that kind of unifies all of those different sets of thinking about whether it's health or seniors activity, or I sit on the foundation board at the hospital. Anything that we can do to kind of coordinate, create efficiency, get people all pulling in the same direction so that we're more effective when we do that would be good.
To answer your question, Councillor, where there's been a general kind of community swelling of concerns.
Yes.
Over the last several years, there's been a loose group of people who have helped give the prospective doctors and their wives and families tours of the place to talk about lifestyle in Annapolis Royal, would like to be here, but the circumstances. So there's been people kind of working away. When I was mayor, I was asked numerous times to entertain some doctor who was visiting and her husband or her wife, and to sort of share with them about the community. I think that there's a role for healthcare to be front and center in the concern of every council, every municipality, because it's, and it doesn't really matter whether one lives in the county or one lives in the town. Healthcare, because of the nature of our healthcare center, it covers everything. So, yeah, so we need to constantly monitor it and provide council with the information.
Councillor Sanford.
Yes, I was just wondering about, would there be workshops, or is that what you're thinking for, like, maybe seniors that don't know how to navigate Maple, for example?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like blue sky all over for them. In another contest, they just don't understand it, and is that what you're thinking? Maybe
I
having
think
some of those
that
kind of.
we have certainly discussed those kinds of things. We've talked about,
It's scary for them, to be
Yeah,
honest, and you know, all
absolutely.
they need is maybe someone that knows how to properly use the computer and, you know, can
Yeah.
easily, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm on the board of the Innovation Lab, and this would be a nice kind of pairing, actually.
Mhm.
There's a
Yeah.
computer workshop component to it, you know, sort of combining the two.
Yeah,
Would be ideal.
but, and which would be amazing,
Mhm.
but honestly, when a situation happens super quick and you don't see it coming and you have to wait 2-4 hours for someone, or, you know, you fall, you slip, and you don't even know where to go. You're like, oh
No.
my God, like, I broke my arm, like, where do I go? Who do I, you know, do I
Yeah.
get in the vehicle and drive right to Kentville immediately? Do I go to Digby? Do I call them to see, you know,
It's confusing.
it's horrible. It's horrible. It really is. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I thank you guys for stepping up and,
So the
Yeah.
task team has considered
The task
its task completed.
yeah,
right?
okay.
What was charged with by council.
mhm.
And so its final recommendation is that there be a standing advisory committee.
But that's why I was wondering about workshops and stuff to educate
And those are the kinds of things an advisory committee could recommend
yeah,
to council
yeah, cause I
to
think,
help facilitate.
yeah, I think it's important to have that knowledge.
I
Yeah,
agree.
the healthcare task team was established in February of 2023, so a year ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, we agreed to examine and comment on the existing healthcare system. So we established our group with the permission of council, and we had guest speakers come well, we met regularly. And we had a local doctor, a local head pharmacist, and our MLA on 3 different occasions come and talk to us and guide us and give us recommendations of what they see is lacking within our local community. And just answering to you, Mike, it's a province-wide issue, and it's definitely overflows into the county. And we also need to look at ways to promote our town. I mean, how do we promote our town to be an attractive place to live for a new doctor to town? And how is that new doctor's partner going to find employment? And where are those children going to go to school? And all of that packaged together to promote this town. How do we make this town attractive to new people just to live here? One of the questions we're often asked is, where's the local emergency room? How long will it take for an ambulance to, people are moving here in their retirement years and they have health concerns and they want to know what, if something happens to me, how long will it be until I'm seen? So it's a way, I think this committee will really help establish information that can be shared to promote the team. Now, I went to that meeting last night. I was invited to go to that meeting with the firefighters. This was the accident that happened last week was the tipping point for a lot of firefighters, as you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a public meeting. It was attended by volunteer members of our local fire department in Annapolis Royal, Bear River, North Queens, Bridgetown. It was facilitated by Common Care. As well as media groups, media outlets like Global Halifax, CBC News, CTV Atlantic, and a journalist from the Register. The volunteer firefighters, they spoke openly and emotionally, very emotionally, about things that they have had to deal with, not just in the last week, but in the last year or more. And the critical situation, extremely long wait times for ambulances, lack of resources and support, volunteer burnout. The list it just went on and on. So 9 years ago, I learned last night that 9 years ago, our local fire department agreed to start responding to medical calls. They had their training, they agreed to start responding. In the first year, there were 15 medical calls. Last year, and the typical wait time for an ambulance was 5 to 20 minutes. Last year, they responded to 125 medical calls with ambulance wait times up to 5 hours. So if you think about last year, we got our report at the last council meeting, the total fire and medical calls was 265. So they're now looking at almost 50% of their calls are medical. They feel the delivery of our healthcare service is being downloaded to local volunteers, which it is. They explained how they're feeling burned out. This is not what they signed up for. They're not permitted to transport a patient because of the risk of being sued. That's a huge one. So when they're on the side of a road with a car accident victim, and they're told that the ambulance is coming from Halifax, and they're waiting, and now they're told the ambulance is just coming through Greenwood, and they have RCMP officers, they have a car, they have qualified firefighters, but they're not allowed to move that victim, right? So just imagine what that must feel like. So it's a huge burden on the volunteers. They're waiting with patients who are in agony for hours while the ambulance is en route. They say it's too much to bear. They have terrible mental health strain, and there's too much time spent away from work and family. Some of the volunteers, even from our department, have left. Some are seeking mental health counselling. And many volunteers, they said last night, have clocked up to 800 hours of volunteer time in 1 year. So this is the situation we're faced with. Now, the paramedics that show up to the scene are amazing. They are fully supporting those individual people because it's not their fault.
No.
It's the system, right?
Yes.
So that's just one piece
Yeah.
of the crisis that we're in.
Yeah.
So,
And this, maybe the team can help to gather some of that information,
Right.
so you guys can reflect it to the people whose ears you have about, no, your solutions are not working in rural Nova Scotia. We need, that's so unfair to those people. And I mean,
yeah. So this group will advocate, well, we can advocate for our own residents of the town. So the ambulance wait time is one extreme. And when you look at the other, preventative healthcare, what can people do to be fit? How can we promote that? So it's a wide spectrum.
yeah, well, and I think that teaching people to use the system also means that it gets used effectively, so the resources that truly are needed for emergency won't be utilized in situations that aren't an emergency.
Mhm.
So I had a question for the task team. So work is happening now. So town staff applied for a grant to do a physician recruitment video.
Right,
We've been supporting healthcare professionals, picking them up at 5 a.m. to deliver them to the right school because there's no bus service at that hour. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. But my question is this something that the task team would take over in terms of rationalizing how do we set this up?
yeah,
It's not that people in the town wouldn't help, but we end up recruiting in the community.
yeah,
People like Jim Metal will do absolutely anything to help somebody, people like that, right? You call and yes, I will drive. But would you take on things like that? And I don't mean that's doing them.
yeah, no, but coordinating, well, I think
Yeah.
it could be, it could certainly be a thing that the team could do. I think right now, the team is down to 3 people. We're gonna need to get some more volunteers
we
to
will.
help us,
As
but,
a standing committee though,
Yeah.
not as a task team, it just
yeah.
continues on infinitum.
Yeah, because also, people will not be as motivated to get involved. And I think that's a perfect opportunity to create efficiency by making sure that, we're making use of all the different resources that could help, making sure that we're not duplicating activities in different
Well,
places.
duplication, I'm glad you brought up, because you brought that up with the province, too many points of access, too many
Yes.
issues. But we also brought up the fact that what we need to do is focus on some of our worst cases,
Mhm.
people presenting with complex issues. They handle seniors really well, but if you're not a senior, if you have complications, you just fall. So these things have been raised with the province, the problem with that repeatedly, and Carmen's been very vocal about
Yes,
it,
yeah.
but it doesn't seem to be getting any better.
No, yeah, unfortunately, it sometimes leads to terrible incidents, but maybe making sure that they don't forget about some of these things. And I don't know, one thing I've talked with a few people about, I thought I had a way to get it into the province, but I can't volunteer in that concept or context now, because it's a conflict of interest. In the companies that I used to work in, we used to do something called a patient journey. And what you do is you follow a patient from the time of, first symptoms through the course of their disease and say what exactly happens. And what it does is it shows situations where the system falls apart for people. And it might be an interesting way to, in a very compelling fashion, tell the story about, a young family in a car accident. They first responders, the only people that can arrive are the fire department. They can't transport them, and tell it. When you tell people stories, they become emotionally involved in them, and they're less likely than to brush them off and to say, well, the ambulance goes here and it takes 30 minutes and then that and that and that. No, there's a person laying on the floor on the ground, a child in cold ground, agonizing pain, waiting while this ambulance arrives.
Now, Dr. Pugh did admit, she in an open meeting, that that was a blind spot. If you're seniors, you're taken care of, but if you're not a senior, you present with complex issue, there is no hope.
Yeah,
And if you've got depression on top of it, there is absolutely no hope, because they won't do anything unless the person consents.
well, yeah,
Sick people don't consent to anything.
no.
So a patient journey, would that be similar to a victim impact statement?
No,
Is
it's
that
more, you compile information from several people who've had similar
Okay,
experience,
right.
and then you talk about what's the typical way that this proceeds. So an example I can give, sorry, I'll be a bit medical here. There's a horrible disease called hidradenitis suppurativa. It strikes people in their late teens and early adulthood. They end up basically with big abscesses under their arms in different places that just weep and stink, and they're terrible. And the company that I worked for last came up with a treatment for that. They had a lot of trouble getting governments around the world to support using the treatment, because they said, well, it's just a dermatological disease. I mean, I'm sure these people can manage it well. So they did one of these patient journeys and talked about the fact that it takes 5 years for a typical patient to be diagnosed with this disease. Nobody knows what it is. They get sent to surgery, it gets resected, they get sent to another surgery. Nobody knows what's wrong with them. People say, well, you just need better hygiene, or you just need to stop smoking, or whatever. And well, some of these young people end up committing suicide because they can't even go out in public. And so finally, by being able to tell the story of that whole thing, okay, you get the diagnosis, you don't know what's wrong, you go to your GP, he gives you antibiotics, and you show all of the, it's not just you get diagnosed and you're treated.
Right.
And you're telling it from the perspective of the patient. So I'm not sure it's 100% applicable, but I think it would be an interesting way to try and map, not in abstract concepts, what it is that a patient who has an emergency in this community goes through.
So it's kind of an attempt to humanize it.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, we give you timelines.
sorry.
If you had an emergency, when were they picked up, where they went, how long they took to get to point A to point B to point C.
Yeah,
So that'll, I think, go a long way to giving a little more voice to the issues here, because
And if you put some color in there as well, it talks about not just the timeline, but the individual, the human being that's
Small
involved.
child,
The
yeah,
small child
yeah,
lying in the snow for 2 hours.
no.
Whatever it happens to be, I mean, we operate so often on these little timelines and snippets, and we go, oh, okay, well, we just need to make the ambulance go faster.
Yeah,
Well,
and I mean, they're burnt out.
well, you just have to talk to an EMT to know
no.
the stories they tell are horrific.
And
The
firemen are
team
burnt out.
does
Yeah.
not mean to imply in any way that the people in the healthcare
yeah.
system in any level are not
Right.
doing their
That's
job.
right.
They're doing the best they
Exactly.
can. And
Yeah.
I mean, we participated in 4 different healthcare systems around the world in the last 12 years, and they're all suffering from this. Our last place was the US. I called to get a doctor's appointment. It took me 6 months. I was paying, or my company was paying $900 a month for healthcare for that.
But it'll be interesting to see just an average person who needs to have some treatment at the UTC.
Yeah.
You know, how long does it take for them to get in? And go from there, you know, just a typical situation. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, it doesn't just show this is situation where the system is failing, it also shows where it's successful or how to navigate it successfully, so it could be a good tool.
Yeah, yeah, good idea.
Further comments, questions?
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
So you have the recommendation, thank you very kindly.
Well, it's
Thank you
first
for all
on
the
the,
work.
it's first on the agenda, isn't it?
Motion one is, has to do with committee of the whole. Yeah, I think the
So-
presentation on,
It'll be item 9.
so we received the recommendation, yeah, so we can certainly include it. So it's up to you, if you want to deal with that now, you can.
Are we ready for a motion?
Sure.
We,
You can put the motion on the table and we can discuss it.
Okay, I move that council establishes a healthcare task team advisory committee.
Did you want to put anything in there with one counselor sitting on there? I think that it should have at least,
Standard structure.
yeah,
Yeah,
like it should have some sort of
We've got your
structure.
rules of procedure, I think we could, because terms of reference have to be established.
Yeah,
that's.
as per the approved terms of reference.
Subject to
Yeah,
We did
development.
We did provide-
draft a document earlier in the year.
The first submission.
yeah,
Yeah, so be subject to approval, council approves the terms.
yeah, subject to the terms of reference approved by council.
Right.
Okay,
That'll work.
Is it premature to do this right now?
Well, we don't
And
have to
not
do it right
wait
now, if you'd like to
until
consider
council
it,
whole?
that is fine, so we can, that's another option, is to move it to, committee of the whole.
That would be my preference.
Okay.
To move it to our next meeting.
Okay, and give you time to think about it, and we'll find the documents, I know that they came from the task
I
team.
can resend them.
Thank you, so that's great, I will
Allow
have
us.
to look for them.
Maybe to have conversations with the county.
Well, we have a meeting tomorrow night with the county, so we might even learn something tomorrow.
Okay.
You have a,
Yeah,
Well, even if we can open up a seat or two to have representation from in there, I think it'd be important.
yeah, so we can find that out tomorrow.
yeah,
We'll know a bit more. Okay, well, thanks so much for
Thank you.
all of you coming.
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sybil. So do you want me to provide you with the terms of reference
Yeah,
for review?
and
And then-
we'll put them on the committee of the whole
Okay,
agenda.
She said that.
yeah.
thanks, Sybil, thank you very much.
Said
No, you can leave it
that-
Oh,
open.
whichever, it doesn't matter, thank you.
That document should be sent to staff to be able to.
Yes, yes. to
Okay.
Kim, to send it with the package.
Okay,
But she was going to send me an e-copy. so I
yeah,
can get it
yeah,
in.
so it's been a while since
Right.
we'll review this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
I
then
think-
we'll send you a
right.
reviewed copy.
Yeah.
I think the
Okay,
terms of reference are highly important. on
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for
what we-
sure.
What
Just
needs,
gotta have to make sure.
how many members?
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
what they're gonna be doing,
And the mandate.
Yes,
right? That's
yeah.
the mandate's huge.
Okay,
Okay,
great,
good.
thank you, everybody, that was great, nice presentation. So we've decided what to do with that, and we have no unfinished business, which is amazing. So go on to recommendations from committees, boards, and commissions. So if you'd like to go in rotation, go ahead.
So we're doing community,
Committee of the whole, Yeah,
I'll do motion one then, that council approve the updated appendix B of the capital equipment replacement policy for the fiscal year 2024-2025.
seconder,
Yeah, I'll second that.
any discussion?
I thought we were waiting until the budget discussion.
Not
This-
Not on this piece,
Not in this piece?
Because it was for those two.
And we combined it in.
combine it into one, get the deal, trade it in.
Okay, because
Side by
when
side.
Ken spoke at our last meeting, he mentions the possibility of not buying a new truck.
This isn't the truck, this is the
No.
Kubota.
Kubota.
Yeah,
Okay, yes, but this is the appendix B. We're approving the appendix B, which says that we're going to be replacing the truck in the next budget year. The 2012 truck, we're going to be replacing the 2018 police car.
So he's amended it, so you have less equipment now on your,
I amended it.
yeah, so, yeah, go ahead, you explain.
Well, no, you're doing a great job.
Okay, so basically it changed, so you'll see one piece of equipment less,
Yeah, but it still says we're going to be replacing those two vehicles this year, and I know
yes,
whether we want to do that or not, I don't know.
but not
But
three.
Ken did
pieces.
mention the possibility of not buying the truck and instead buying a different type of vehicle.
Oh, when he was talking about future purchase,
No, this one here, he was talking about the,
The half-ton, the 2012 half-ton.
Yeah.
right,
And
and
buying,
adding something to
or
it, right?
Gatorade,
Yeah,
a Gator or.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
something
side by
like that.
side or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, side by side,
Yeah.
yeah,
But the money is still earmarked regardless if we buy
so
a truck or a side by side or whatever.
even if it's earmarked,
Yes,
we don't have to decide on actual purchasing of a vehicle, like replacing
No, we
the
get to
Charger.
approve each.
oh,
Yeah,
yes, you
at
have to
budget
approve
time.
each.
Yeah.
okay, because I just saw that it
Yeah.
indicates that we are.
No.
So I was wondering if that commits us to do
No, it
it.
does not.
I find it confusing too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a little more comfortable with that.
It's the allocation, okay. Further discussion? Ready for the question?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried, thank you. Motion two, who's next?
Motion 2. I move that council approve the Valley Waste Resource Management operating budget of $6,859,565 with the Annapolis Royal portion of $89,638 for the fiscal year 2024-2025.
And I will second that.
Further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Okay, motion 3, I move that council agree to send a letter to Minister McMaster supporting the Annapolis Valley Regional Library request. It's not really worded properly.
No, there was just one word that I suggested we change. And that would be anecdotal instead of, what was the word? There was just that one word, oh, here it is, instead of anecdotal evidence, anecdotal. But I thought the rest of it was
Yeah.
great.
No, I meant the
The motion.
motion itself.
Oh, the
says
motion, I'm
we're
sorry.
supporting the Annapolis Valley Regional Library request.
Yeah, it should be clear, right?
It doesn't really, yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't
yeah, it
really
should be
s-
clear. And it's in your letter
Yeah.
to embark on a funding review. It's in here somewhere. You've
So you
got
want
it
that put in for actually detailing the request. quote,
Yeah.
okay?
Instead of just request.
You know,
Yeah.
it's really just agreeing to send a letter, and so therefore,
Yeah, no, you're right. We should
That
say what
vote
it's
is-
about.
fine, but
Okay. You make the case in here, but didn't actually spell it out, I guess. So, it's not just the funding request, you're looking
we
for,
are providing information to assist the minister in his department's deliberations when considering funding for regional libraries.
okay, you got that? You got that, perfect. That sounds good.
Seconder,
Also, yes, I'm good with that.
Are you ready for the question?
Aye.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
So I changed one word, if that's okay.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Okay, good, okay, that was it. I thought it was a great letter. Then we have the advisory committee.
Okay, I move that council agree to send the updated letter to the executive director's sustainability and applied science of
Glyphosate.
glyphosate
I
spray.
learned how to pronounce it.
Glyphosate.
So many times. Is there second?
I'll second that.
Now discussion.
Would it be possible to remove one word?
Yes.
Yeah,
what
sure it
word is
would.
that?
At this stage.
Gravely,
Yeah.
That seems a bit,
we are concerned, we're not great, well, maybe we
we
are
are
gravely
concerned. I
concerned.
think concerned is,
We are concerned.
where did I see that?
Great.
Wait a minute,
Let's take
it's
that
not-
out.
We are concerned, it's not in mine.
Our environmental advisory committee and town
Really?
council is concerned.
Oh, right,
About
it's
the
concerned,
effects.
yeah,
Great.
good.
Just
Yeah.
slash the
Gravely.
gravely.
We found it.
Okay.
Yeah,
We can
take
take the
that
word
out.
gravely.
All right,
we're
Yeah.
concerned. And
Now,
that's,
just to let you know, the county has not followed up and they initiated this, just so you're aware. I contacted Alex just to say, well,
Yeah,
where are you? He's,
they said, haven't
but
sent
they
that.
didn't follow up on the Causeway letter either, so
Oh, okay,
follow up is not, I guess,
okay, well,
They're busy.
yeah.
they are, they have many, many priorities. Okay,
Questions?
so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, great.
Yay.
That's off the table. You can't table it anymore.
Sorry.
Motion,
No, that's
No, it's
okay.
fine.
no, I like that.
We
It's
got there
good.
in the end.
planning and heritage, motion one, that council enter into a development agreement with King's Theater Society to permit the development of a marquee on the canopy entry, accessible front doors, and a rear addition to the existing King's Theater building lands of the town of Annapolis Royal at 209 St. George Street, PID number 05003777, 05311634, 05004221, pursuant to the application, site plan and details contained in the application dated December 23rd, 2023.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion?
Appreciate that we received photos.
That does help.
And the
Because-
proposal,
And the concept,
Yeah.
they both went.
Because I had no idea, of course, what the
Yeah.
marquee was going to look like.
Oh, they sent two pictures.
Yeah,
And they
and I
said-
looked at them prior to, just before we began the meeting. So I appreciated that, and prior to speaking with Holly earlier this afternoon, I wasn't sure what it meant by a rear addition.
Yeah, and that is
Right.
gonna be an expansion and an
Was it?
upgrade to the.
It's in the
green room
concept.
and-
Yes.
Yeah,
plan that came with those two pictures, if you looked at the back of
Okay,
it,
I didn't see
Yeah,
the two
that-
pictures
okay.
until I sat down
Oh.
here at the
Yeah.
table tonight, and so I didn't see.
but it's a whole back end
Yeah,
extension.
that's right.
Yeah.
It's not one little, it's a whole back end extension, and then they have the other proposal for the second story one as well.
Right, and then
Yeah.
the back deck is going to extend, it's going to be pushed out, but it still doesn't go any further beyond the stage door. So if you're on the boardwalk, that like big triangular section of boardwalk and
well,
you
I
see the
didn't get
stage
that, that they
door.
were moving the deck.
Yeah, they're pushing the deck back as
Well,
well.
part of the,
Okay,
part of the.
well,
is gonna-
yeah,
This
yeah,
whole
yeah.
back edition
Yeah.
going on here.
Yeah, oh, see, for some reason I thought it stopped where the deck was.
And they're closing out the other doorway,
No, which doorway?
there's the main doors and the other door.
Oh, that weird side door?
Side door in front of the,
The front.
the
front
concession
door that no
stands,
one
according to
uses.
the proposal, it was
Yeah,
rented
that's,
out.
it
Well, they
looks like
need to
they're
get rid of
closing
that.
that, because,
That
yeah,
doesn't even make sense, or it never,
So this is under
Yeah.
what?
okay,
The tab
cause
7,
I knew it was an interior
yeah,
work being
application.
done.
Can I ask if this is like some sort of grant that they're giving for this?
Yeah, they've secured all the funds, is
Yes.
what Janet had said when she came to planning and heritage, so
Mhm.
I think it was, yeah, I think it was all done
Okay.
with grant money,
Little
It's-
surprise.
as
Yeah.
far as I know, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
the funds are in place.
Yeah, the funds were good to
Mhm.
go and the front should look really snappy, nice, and
Gives
they're
more
gonna keep
storage.
open during all renos.
Mhm.
They're gonna
Oh,
keep
beautiful.
operating, so there'll still be programming,
Mhm.
nothing will be going on. Just a little noisy.
And it's gonna make the building more visible as well, when you look down the street, because now they say, people come in and they go, we didn't even know there was a theatre here. But now they'll
Good
get,
luck.
They do that about the book hall.
They-
and
they-
everything.
Giant
Yeah, everything.
thing that says King Theater on it, and you kind of hard pressed to say, well, what is this building?
It's just, I notice that in my business and everywhere.
yeah,
They just, people often just, if they're not from the area, they
They
just
have one
don't
of these in
see.
front of them and they're walking down the street and go, oh,
And they bang into it.
no, it's gonna look really nice.
It's beautiful, yeah, yeah. And,
So,
And it's by development agreement.
yes, it's a process.
option 1. So there's 2 options
yeah.
for the back.
Okay,
So
One
there is an
story
addition,
or
it's
two
coming
story?
out, but it's also potentially being much higher.
There's a one-story addition going out, and then the other option is going out on the one and then adding
To
the
build.
back
yes,
upstairs,
Yeah,
which will give them a lot of room.
There's no room up there now.
I guess it's not very good upstairs, like there's.
No,
No,
too
it's
cra-
very
every
small,
time
very
they-
Yeah,
cramped.
it's not, you know, for the entertainment and stuff that they have and the people,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm, it's very cramped. Yeah, it's great, good.
I mean, it'll be a process to go through, because it is
There's a
different.
development agreement process to go through, so it's not,
This is stage one.
And they're also doing a washroom renovation as well.
Yes, I think they're starting that soon, or rather, that's gonna be their first done there.
I note that in Chris's reports that rising sea levels will have no impact on this.
well, that's a question that should go to Matt Delarm.
And
According to the stuff we saw, there
There I
wasn't
go.
an issue to that.
And I did ask Janet at the meeting if she had ever noticed or seen water in the basement, and it's dry.
No,
as
she
a
says
bone.
dry, it always has been dry
Since she's
since
been
she's been
there.
there.
It's
No.
always been dry.
No, it's not basement alongside of hers. Very
But they've
good.
done something to mitigate the water,
Yeah,
so
But
it's
then
it's
the
water.
also when
development
you-
agreement process, we can certainly get them the AIM
Yes.
report. Because they could be impacted by anything the town might build in that location, in theory, if we ever decided to build something,
I'm not following.
like the seawall. Or
Oh.
something big, yeah,
Mm.
no, just so that they're aware,
Oh, I'm sure they're
it'll be
aware.
picked up in the development agreement process.
But that won't affect what?
Their expansion.
No, that's because it's not exceeding,
Well, in
it's
theory,
not going on the boardwalk.
in theory, if we were concerned about rising sea levels, then we should do everything we can to lessen the potential impact to the buildings located along the waterfront, which would mean not spending additional funds to expand those buildings.
But we're not spending the funds.
If we are concerned, if we believe that this area is potentially going to be underwater at times over the next few decades, rather than putting money into these buildings that are going to be impacted by floods, it would be best to not do so. Thereby saving potential losses.
That's why this goes to the development agreement, like it's specifically stated here, that's one of the reasons. So it's in the waterfront comprehensive development district, and that's one of the things they have to look at.
I don't see the footprint being massively,
How,
the value of the building will definitely go
how
up, but
far are they?
do they actually move the
Yes.
deck?
Mhm.
Yep, because they're going to be building where the deck is now.
Yeah, but I think the deck is just gonna be smaller than what they have there now.
Well, if it is much, no, I don't think so, Mike. I don't remember that coming up.
See, this is
I gotta look back.
that's the proposal, right? So they're just enclosing this section here, so that deck comes up. I'll have to go there and look, but I thought the deck is pretty close to that back door, stage door anyway.
I don't think so.
No,
Not like that. I can make a mistake.
Extent of existing deck, oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I was a bit confused about the back area. That was my only concern, because I actually didn't. When you go back there and look, there's not a lot of space back there. Before you're right onto like where our boardwalk is expanded in that one section.
You mean
Yeah,
this corner piece here? Like this is-
yeah,
But that's a
like
little bit of
how,
green space in
but I
there.
don't see, I guess, I mean, maybe it's the same one. I just, was there actual measurements? Did we get any actual like feet, how big the,
Well, here's what your planner is saying. The
Yeah.
subject property do not contain any environmental features which would make redevelopment inappropriate.
yeah,
So not putting in a basement or doing anything like that.
How much space are they taking up on the boardwalk though?
that's what I wanna know, like how far they're going out.
They're not going out any further than the stage door.
Yes,
Where's
but
the
how
stage
much
door?
of
So that would be the
boardwalk
kind of right
area
here.
Oh, where
is
they
remaining?
offload
Yeah,
and,
well, they have that back step
Yeah,
stoop and
yeah.
that comes down on, and they're just moving the
Okay.
deck out towards that, I guess, somewhat.
so where will the deck go past the stage door?
No, that's what,
No,
No, it
okay.
won't. They
Okay.
said it won't.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, would have been nice to see that a little.
So we're going to lose then.
Yeah, it's just
This
a,
area.
it's just a small bit right there. It's a tiny bit.
Isn't there a shed there too?
No, the shed is on the end. The shed's
So
right
the shed
there.
won't move,
No, the stage door is there.
yeah.
So they're just coming in like that. So basically where that black line is,
Mhm.
that's it. And then the deck will be here and the stage door is right there.
Yeah, they just have to be careful of
Yeah.
their land and what the
Yeah.
town does own.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't zip onto anything.
That's going to come out in the development agreement
Yeah.
with Ken. So,
Any other questions, comments?
New benches?
Yep, they've got them along the front there.
mm,
Look,
Yeah.
Quite attractive.
I mean, it's pretty snazzy, the.
oh yeah, it's going
A
to be
place for
really
people
nice.
to wait before their show,
Mhm.
Mhm.
other than the bar.
Well, they make money there, though.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Good.
Are you ready for the question?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
I
Anyone contrary or amended? Motion carried. Okay. Then the second application. Sandwich application.
who just read that?
I read that.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
I move that council give the applicant at 644 St George Street Heritage approval to install 2 banks of 3 windows, a total of 6 windows at upper level on sides of building below the existing window, and replace dormer door with window. Also to replace carriage house single doors on front and side of building, and to replace existing double garage door with double carriage door as detailed in application 2404 HER, provided the requirements of the land use bylaw are met.
I will second that.
Okay.
Question. It's pretty straightforward in
It's
my mind.
very
Yeah.
straightforward and it's,
All in favor?
aye,
Aye, motion carried. Great.
good
Yeah.
improvement.
Jeez,
On to marketing and economic development.
missed one meeting, you guys come up with 7.
I know, this,
Recommendations.
I can't, I don't even read this motion too, I'm like, what was this about?
I don't know.
I don't know
Okay.
either.
I move that council approve a subcommittee for the Francophone file with a member of the Marketing and Development Committee, MEDEC, on the subcommittee.
I second that.
What is the Francophone file?
The Francophone file is huge, it's for, you have the Congrès Mondial. We already have 2 family reunions taking place in this town. They're booked, 50 each, up at the Hub and at the Legion. We have Dugas Day, that the town has to do something about. The tourism schools contacted us with 2 students. Then we have the monument that's going into Fort Anne, so that'll be commemorated. There'll be an Acadian Day. For sure, they're gonna commemorate the deportation day again.
Like they did last year.
So
Yeah.
actually, this year, even though we're on the periphery, all of these Acadians come from here. So a whole lot of them are headed here. And the project I didn't mention was AHS is completing the town map of 1710, superimposed on the old, they're superimposing modern Google with instructions for where every Acadian home was in the town. So it's huge in terms of logistics. So just the database alone to support the twinning committee, all these names we've collected, they need to be preserved. So Anne has already started on that,
Yeah.
preserving the historical record. Who's this, who's that, you know? It's a who's who that's extremely complicated, and Christine handled all that for the committee. So now we need to,
So this is the twinning committee, or is this
no,
a
this is a
separate?
subcommittee to support
Because
all
we
the
don't really have a
francophone stuff,
twinning
including
committee.
twinning, until council appoints a twinning group.
Right,
So it was, okay, we need support because there's emails coming in looking for
Yeah.
stuff. And Anne agreed to serve as a support person
Mhm.
and take these files over and have them and hold them. And
Organize and keep them
But like-
all in one.
yeah, that makes sense. It's capturing all of these
It's
events
capturing
into
the
Yes,
one
we don't
group.
wanna miss anything.
No.
or
But
lose
Who's,
information.
okay, for example, Dugas Day, there was a letter from Christine saying.
Yeah.
We proposed this last year, the town needs to do something this year.
Yeah.
This committee's not doing that.
well, and that's up to you to decide, but that was part of twinning. The whole point of Dugas Day was, it was a monument to Dugas.
Mhm.
So that's up for council to decide, but Medic, after 2.5 hours,
Yeah, let's-
was too tired to
Yeah.
get to the francophone
Right.
file.
Yes,
So we deferred it, but I've got a couple, there's 2 items that are more urgent that I put under correspondence.
and we
Well,
already
I
had a
think it's
volunteer who's willing to chair or to head
She's
up
not
that
sharing
group,
any,
not
doesn't
chairing,
wanna
but
share it.
just,
What she's doing right now is,
Coordinating.
she has all the
It's the
files.
database.
And she's, she's
Yes.
going through and putting it all in Excel for us.
that's wonderful.
Well, yeah, it's a big job.
It's a big job.
Yeah,
And this is for the
Okay.
town to use for what? The
For
database.
future twinning events, for whatever we decide, who to
Mhm.
apply for money, for whatever we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too much for one person to handle, was way too much.
To establish a database that's gonna be always available to rotating groups
and
of people.
If names change and
yes.
titles do, like,
That
for
will be
example, Lise
available.
Poirier and Margot Poza were the main branch
Mhm.
awarders.
Mm.
Well, one of them is gone now.
Mm.
So we need to make sure we follow up who's replacing them, because
Right.
people will be looking for
Right.
grants, and they are the Acadian file. They will give grants for most events.
Yeah.
So most of the things that you mentioned in the Francophone file were events that are coming up over the next
Yeah.
12 months.
Yes.
Mhm.
Would it be more appropriate to have an events subcommittee?
Well,
And that would
except,
encompass all of the Francophone and anything else.
well, think about that. The natal
Do you
committee
wanna
all
put
by
Natal Day
itself.
in there? No?
The
like-
town part.
But I'm trying to determine what are, there's these events going on. A lot of them aren't, it has nothing to do with us, the town, other than they're being held in the town.
Yes.
So we're setting up a subcommittee to coordinate with the events to tell us what we're doing for the
No,
town, like
no,
what, I
that's
don't.
not its purpose. Town has to decide about Dugai Day, because that is a town event. It was last year.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Christine's already made a proposal, because Parks Canada want to do something with it, but they need to get it on their events page like now.
Yeah.
So I've got that coming up in correspondence.
Yeah.
That's one thing that council has to deal with, like what are we going to do, if anything? And then the second one is what to do about 2 students. So I put those 2
Yeah.
on because we didn't get to them at the meeting.
Well, the 20, yeah, those due students to me is a,
And she's already made a proposal about that. If the town can't handle it, they can go to Claire. So, you know,
Yeah.
there's
yeah,
options.
but that's not,
But
They were-
Right
it's
now,
not,
there's nothing like, that's,
I know, I mean, it was created that the relationship was created so they would come here. They were either used by Parks Canada or they were used by, you know,
VIC.
VIC or something, I mean, they come so early. It
and
doesn't
they
fit a lot
still
of our
can,
stuff.
so that's coming up under correspondence. So
Okay.
for this, it was just,
So-
Medic was recommending they're not even recommending a committee. It's a subcommittee of one person
Yeah,
who is now working on those files for us.
makes sense.
but the point that Michael, I think, is raising is that a lot of these events that were mentioned are not town.
No, but it's
events
important for
or-
the town to know who's leading them, because they ask for the town crier, sometimes they ask for the mayor, sometimes they want council to do something, sometimes they want a flag. So it's important for us to know. Right now, everybody's hunting for information on the town. We know that AHS are producing that piece,
Okay.
so we can tell them, it will be available, but somebody has to manage it. It's a lot to dump on staff, because this is a special year.
Mhm.
It's a
And but
French year.
back to my point about calling this an events committee, you know, the argument that was initially made was that, oh, Natal Day. Well, no, not really, because all of these other events that are Francophone are being organized by other people. It's not gonna be the subcommittee.
No, but
And
somebody
organizing.
has to, but the requests are coming into the town.
What I'm saying is that because we called it an events committee, it doesn't mean that every event is going to be organized under the auspice of
Not
this.
at all, like, it's just like a collector to say who's doing what.
So.
Yeah.
So
it could
you're
serve-
saying it shouldn't say
it could-
microphone.
It could be multiple, any type of.
Well,
event.
except that we noticed with the Royale group, they didn't want to do twinning for everything. They were interested in Royale twinning. It's well established. Natal Day, they have their own thing, and they work almost all year on Natal Day.
But this would be a group
So-
that would be able to help coordinate, you know, the point you made about staff now having to coordinate these events to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to
And
do.
I guess the problem is if you give people too much to do, like, so Natal Day's got its own, Pride do their own thing, most of them do their own thing.
Yeah,
Good
which
job
is
for
fine,
French
we want
interest
that,
in
but, you know, if the Natal Day Committee has an ask for town council, then it could go through the events committee. If Pride has an ask, then it could go through the events committee instead of going through staff.
yeah.
Well, you're still gonna end up with stuff because people are willing to do so much on a committee, but not the scope creep. Nobody wants scope creep.
Okay,
This is a very narrow file with somebody who's able to use Google Translate, because you got French names, French everything. So our main thing was to preserve the database because nobody's now in charge of it, like the history of twinning and the documents and who's who. And so our main interest was, can we get a hold of that? And I didn't particularly want to do it. I have done it in the past, but it's a lot of work.
So, because this is a unique year.
Yeah.
This is why we need this subcommittee. Maybe it should be more called a task team.
And it can be. I don't see
And
a problem
then
with that.
when this year passes, we can relook at it instead of forming a official subcommittee, just have a
Or
task
And
team.
that's fine, call it a task team, that's
Yeah,
fine.
You know,
Yeah.
and then it just
I don't
doesn't,
think they'd have any problem with
Yeah.
that.
But I
yeah,
mean, the Dugar Day will be an annual event,
yeah,
Well, it
But
is
that's-
now.
and then our
It is an
students will be an
annual event.
annual opportunity.
yeah.
So-
So, I mean, either way, but I just thought maybe a task team wouldn't seem so daunting. I
Now,
don't
the
know.
last student experience was not a good one. Previous ones
No.
were, but the last one was not.
Well, this sounds like this task team would do well to have like an intern early in the spring to
Yeah,
do all
to
this
do-
work, all this legwork that's being
Yeah,
asked.
that's true.
It's a
Yeah.
tourism task team, so you have to get, it's the students come for tourism experience. But anyway,
Well,
we
this
have-
is,
we have that in the correspondence.
these are all events,
It's true.
right? So I think that ties into some of that tourism side of it, right? I mean, working at Keji is stretching it for me in the tourism side, so, but, I like it better as a task team, but
Okay.
it's
I'm
kind of, a-
happy with the task team.
So does somebody want to make that motion?
Well, I think you had already made it. Were you happy with, a task team?
Am I happy to amend my motion to
To a task.
refer to it as a task team for Francophone
The file?
file, the Francophone file?
We can call it Francophone Acadian.
So we don't have to come up with the mandate for this task team, that's their,
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
do
bit
their own.
different with a task team.
yeah, okay.
I'm happy with changing it to a task team.
Okay, and I am also happy with that.
so are we ready for the question?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Great. Next.
Okay, motion two, I move that council approve the development of a cooperative framework by the Marketing and Economic Development Committee, MEDEC, for Annapolis Royal Cooperative Marketing Fund, subject to council approval. Did I read that right?
You did.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounded confusing.
Sorry, you've got all the words
Okay.
in.
We need a
So-
second.
Can you second that? So,
I'll second that,
thank you.
Okay, discussion.
you gotta explain what that is.
What is the Annapolis Rural Cooperative Marketing Fund?
It's in the plan that we all received from Medic, and I understand there were 3 iterations of the plan, so things get lost in translation.
Yeah.
But they have produced a plan. It's
Yeah.
not yet approved by council. Sandy is waiting for the final,
Yes.
but this was mentioned. So the idea is getting the businesses together, Medic facilitating people getting together and doing cooperative
Round
stuff
table.
with some support. So the money from council would leverage a joint marketing effort. Whatever council decided to give, if anything. So that was a general idea.
This is like the luncheons and stuff?
It could be
as
that, or
a-
it could be,
Joint advertising.
joint advertising,
marketing.
like you take the Explorer guide, maybe advertising more in that, or one of the newer ones that are out, Valley, I forget what it's called, Valley Paper, that new one, and doing joint advertising, so you would have businesses and the town putting an ad in, like taking a full page out type thing. And I mean, it may or may not happen, but if you don't have the funding in place, then it's a no, right?
Yeah.
Well. It's a slippery slope when we get into joint advertising and just do everything. Okay, we got 4 businesses that wanna put an ad in Halifax, and they need the town to put a half a page in. I have issues with us using taxpayers' money to put half a page in. Now, if it's
Fair
a,
enough, if
if
it's,
it's a newsletter, news story that's on the town supports that. And then businesses put their ads in on it, great, that's a little bit, it's a generalization stuff, right? So, and of course, further down is a motion to go to Soulscape, which is, I'm going, okay, so who you're inviting?
This one is approved the development of a cooperative framework, so it's, somebody's going to produce a document that council will get to see and either accept it, not accept it.
Do they need our?
Well, they
approval
wanted to make
develop
sure they didn't start on something and then, they wanted to make sure that. So this is to approve the development of a cooperative framework, so they
Yeah.
have to come up with the framework.
Okay.
They just wanna make sure it's okay to spend some time on that.
I don't know if we need a motion for it, but
it? I don't think so. It's like you can develop it. I
All right.
I think the motion should come once they develop a framework, and then we can say, okay, this
okay,
works for
All right.
us.
That goes back. So,
The next
so,
one.
looks like you have to do something with this.
Table it or no?
No,
Just
you can't
send it.
table it because,
let it fall? I don't know. Melanie, what do we
you
do?
can try abandoning the motion,
Yeah,
Abandon?
abandonment, I'd try that one, and if it doesn't fly, then
That's
we'll,
it.
and we'll fix the minutes, okay, let's try abandonment. Tell them to go ahead and work on the framework, and
Yeah.
council will look at it then,
Yeah.
okay.
Again, in reading this, this is not something, is this a motion that we need from us?
Which one are you?
I'm on the UNESCO Heritage Designation
Yeah, so I
application.
think, or it could be task team. Doesn't really have to be a subcommittee.
No, but UNESCO is not
That
a
is
small
gonna take
thing.
No, it's
years,
a-
yeah,
yeah,
it takes about 5 years.
It's
It's a
yeah.
big
not a small
undertaking.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, I
And
think,
it's just approving an initiative.
yeah, I think this is
To
a
look
big
into
deal.
it,
They
to
can't go, they
investigate.
can't be talking to people
Yeah.
if they have no authority to
No, no, no.
ask questions
Yeah.
or. This is.
Okay, that council approved an initiative by the Marketing and Economic Development Committee to start a subcommittee to investigate a UNESCO Heritage Designation application for the town of Annapolis Royal.
So I would be happier if that subcommittee was actually a task team. Again, do you
Well, like
think?
what she just said, it
Unless-
takes like 5 years, so
Hmm.
you're better to have like that solid subcommittee.
So we need a mandate though, then,
By the
for the
task team.
Oh, you
subcommittee.
need a mandate. yeah.
So
Oh,
should
yeah.
Well,
that,
they would have to come back with what they're looking
Right.
for a mandate on.
okay, yeah, so that's fine, I second that.
Yeah, so in that planning report that was presented to us, that was one of the tasks that we were to look at was
UNESCO.
the UNESCO Heritage application. It's a daunting application and it's a lot of work. It's not like something you get approved, done.
Well,
What I remember from the marketing or the plan that was given to us was they wanted to hire someone to do
Wow.
this.
Oh, that would have been in the past.
Yeah.
When there's lots of money floating
One of
around.
the, no, but I mean in the plan that we read back in January.
Yeah, but this town has been in the do-it-yourself mode unless you
Yeah.
need an
Okay.
engineer.
Okay,
Ever since.
Yeah.
I'm just checking.
I don't
Yeah.
think it'll get done unless somebody picks it up and does it.
Yeah,
I can think of a few people qualified in our community to do it.
I think that there's gonna be a lot of people in the community who are gonna be
that's what we
interested in
said.
this.
We.
that if it was,
we-
and it was being a subcommittee, it would be, you could join it as others outside can join, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
So just creating a mandate, like we're gonna have to know what you're doing.
So are we ready for the question?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next.
I move that council agree to review the wayfinding study for consideration during the 2024-2025 budget deliberations.
I'll second that.
I
Any
can't
discussion?
imagine that we wouldn't wanna have a full report on wayfinding.
Well,
We are in a mess of signs. Signage is a problem. And I don't, and maybe when it comes to budget, there may not be funding for it. I don't know.
But
But I definitely, it should go to budget as a consideration. And if we have to nix it at that level, then we
but we
nix
don't
it.
even have an RFP of what we're even looking at for price on this thing. They wanna go to,
Request for proposal?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no.
yeah, but it's
there's no
what
price.
dollar value would.
No, there is no,
No.
yeah, you're right.
But it needs to go out.
But why do we need to pass this motion? Like, I've just already reviewed the wayfinding study. That's the RF.
this one that was attached.
Yeah, it's,
So what they're asking is it simply be considered, like, that means a bill will be coming in, you know, if this goes out, there'll be a quote that comes in.
but we're reviewing, is this the study? that
This
they're
is the
referring to?
study. And there's a
So,
deadline of February 8th, but obviously that. didn't
This
go
was,
out.
this is old, this is from.
It's an old one.
Yeah,
Melanie's
twenty
right.
eighteen.
Yeah,
yeah, I see the date.
Yeah,
So now we're just,
You know, but you'd have to issue.
because our
the
logo
request for
changed in
proposal salary in the budget.
2017.
So they
I
just,
really like the logo.
but they just
Well,
need
the
to
old
find
one or
out
the
what
new
is it
one?
going to cost to do and have it for
The new
budget.
one.
But why issue the RFP if council doesn't want to go for it, I guess is the.
yeah.
That shouldn't be an asking if we want to issue the
Well,
RFP.
this is what came from the committee.
Okay, because I've already reviewed
see,
it. and
in my mind,
therefore-
medic should have said, we would like to put in the budget $5,000 to do this.
Yeah.
And then we decided
Put a
budget,
dollar amount.
we're not gonna
Yeah.
approve 5,000 for this, we'll approve the 10,000 for that, and
Well, this
Like
way
every-
you'll find out, if there are 4 bids, you'll find out how much it's gonna cost. They have nothing to present at budget or to request right now. So you're right, you could wait till then, but at some point you have to find out how much it's gonna cost. It's hard to consider a budget.
And I would have no idea how much
No,
something
I
like
don't
this would
either.
cost. Like to do a full report of the town of all the signs.
I think there was only one ever done for the town. I'm not sure how much it cost, but it should be more
I
than
remember when
that.
it was
I'm gonna
done,
say
we talked.
it would be closer to that.
So-
I don't know. I'm
Oh, I think it was a
guessing. I
lot
don't know.
more money than that,
I
because it
think
came
it
out of the
was too.
city, and I
Yeah.
know we had like 3 public meetings.
So we're gonna spend money on somebody just to tell us what our existing
Yes, it's a
signage is.
report
So this
on-
isn't actually the money spent to change the
No.
signs.
Mm-mm.
So
Just to
we
get-
live in a tiny town. Can't we just walk around and look at the signs ourselves and map them out?
Have you looked at them lately?
Yes, I see them every day when I walk my dog. I mean, I could do it for free. I just walk
Okay,
around
wow.
and say,
And that-
well, there's
and that
5
was brought
signs
up
there
too,
and
and
3
yeah,
signs there.
That
And
was discussed too.
and we'll
Yeah.
take pictures of them and we'll all share the.
We've sort of done that before. We've had in Medic years and years ago, we've gone around, we've taken pictures. and
Yeah,
This needs to change and that, but nothing is concise and nothing is flows. Like people are like, oh, well, we'll just change this and we'll just change that. And it's not done properly. I'm not saying if someone wants to take it on for free, for sure, that would be
So
amazing,
what's the IFP cost?
amazing.
Just putting an ad out?
Yeah.
That's it.
But then we're just going to get someone who's going to tell us what they think of what we currently have and not give us a
You-
plan for the future.
You
No, no, the
work
idea-
with
the-
them.
The RFP does go over.
But Medic has money left in their budget, so why isn't Medic just putting the RFP out and saying, okay, 4 people come in and you then have numbers?
Well, fine, if that's a recommendation that goes back, go ahead with the RFP.
Okay.
I'm sure that'd be acceptable
I mean,
to them.
They could turn out the RFP says 25,000, and then you're like, okay, we'll do our inventory count our own. You know what I mean?
but
Like,
that doesn't include putting new signs out that
Oh, I
are
know.
more
Oh,
efficient.
you know,
no, it's.
See, I just don't see, I can't justify spending money.
Well, you're not
Some-
spending anything right now. That's
No,
a good part.
yeah.
but at least would give us an idea of doing nothing, doing a full review or something in between, I guess it would be. And I would like to, we need a number. Can't make a real decision without a number in hand.
Well, all we're being asked to do right now is read this.
So why is that even a motion?
I don't know.
They'd like to know what to do. Basically, it came up, it's been an issue, it's an issue all the time at Medic, the variety of signs.
But if we
Don't need a
if we
motion.
were to approve this motion, they still don't know because all it says is that we will have read this.
Yeah.
For
Yes,
budget
but what you
purposes.
can suggest
But,
is they do the RFP.
I think they should go and use some of their funds that they have left and do an RFP and get us a number. Like, I would rather see a number at budget time saying, to do a wayfinding, it's gonna be X. Whatever X is, then we can make a decision. I mean, we take a look at this at budget, we're still not gonna make a decision on it.
No,
Yeah,
So that's what I would say. I don't think we need to pass a motion on it.
I
We
think
just
it's a
give them
redundant
direction
motion.
to go and do that.
Mhm.
That's my thought. Sorry. So
So.
Just-
what do we do with it?
just directs,
direct them to,
take it back to Medic and ask them to,
Consider an RFP.
Yeah.
The remaining funds. Okay.
I think she's very cautious. It's-
Well, understandably, right? Because everybody comes to her. Everybody wants something.
so can we abandon that motion, Kim, please?
Yes.
She's gonna take it back to,
who's next, me?
I think so.
I think it's Paul, actually.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's Paul.
Okay. I move that council approve sending representatives of the Marketing and Economic Development Committee, MEDEC, to attend the 2024 Saltscape Spring Expo and book a larger booth at a cost of $1,475 plus tax for April 19th to 21st, 2024, subject to confirmation of details such as partnerships and specific objectives.
I'll second that. Sorry, I'll second that. So it was brought to Medic that, there was a package, for the Saltscapes Spring
Yeah.
Expo. And one of the members highly recommended it. They had gone in the past and was very successful with, their particular business. But they did notice that a lot of towns had booths set up, very well done, representing their towns
How long ago was that?
last year.
Okay.
Years ago, didn't we used to do it like? with
Years-
the
years
store,
ago,
Like with,
The
During-
the gardens used to lead it,
yeah,
and they would, I think we ended up putting, Alan used to go dressed up. The town used to put some brochures in, and then there was like a whole table of representation, because the town would only go if it was the entire representation of every possible business out there.
yeah,
And that would be the same thing to me now. I don't think it's something, I think Medic should coordinate, maybe working with everybody out there and saying,
And we would contribute a dollar value, we wouldn't book it on their behalf, we would just contribute money towards it if that's what,
right.
yeah.
And, yeah, cause they did talk about partnerships.
well,
And
there's
I
the
brought up-
gardens, there's the theater, there's
Mhm.
Arts Place, there's all the little retail businesses, they're all the tourist businesses that are in town.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't, to me, Medic should be organizing. It's a great idea, partnered it up, and we'll help support you. And then come back with an ask, and say, okay, we wanna do banners, and we wanna do town this, and town that, and we have our logo up there. That would be smashing, so yes, that would be how,
Yeah, it would be a bigger splash.
well. Again, it goes back to taxpayers' money, you have to do it as the whole, not for businesses and the town joining in to represent the town, right? That to me is slippery.
There's a lot of businesses that want to participate. If they were to divide the 1475 between them, it could be peanuts.
Well, I think the task to us should be, we want a town banner, or we want something I think there's a town tent or something that has our logo on
There
it.
is, yeah.
So I mean, put that up and maybe have, you
We
know,
used to have some, you know, those things that slide up.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't seen them around in a while.
I know what you mean. So I don't know, and I mean, I'm away during that time, so I wouldn't be able to man the booth kind of thing. I assumed other members of Medic would be doing that. And,
when is it, April 19th to 21st?
yeah,
Like, who's gonna pay for their accommodations and stuff?
I don't know.
Like
I
that, the
was-
14,725
that
is just
was
for the
going to be
booth.
whoever's
Yeah,
going.
it sounds like we're.
Yeah.
Whoever's going is paying. Yeah.
This was
whoever's
the
going.
cost of the booth,
Yeah.
Right.
That
right?
was it.
So you had to secure that soon to get that discount. It goes up after, I
February
forget.
15th, it's
It
already.
went up.
It's already
Yeah,
gone
it's
up. Yeah.
And are local businesses going to this from our town? Have they
It
done
would-
it in the past?
Oh, they definitely have done it in the past,
And how long ago was that?
last year.
Okay, how many businesses, for example, from our town?
I
attended?
really can't speak to on that. I've never personally gone,
Okay,
so I don't know even what it looks like.
No,
I've
but
just known it
they
was,
type
it
up
was too
everybody
much for
sure
me.
and take-
Yeah.
Everybody's stuff goes. right?
Yeah.
okay.
Is the garden still going? You don't know?
I don't know if the garden still
No.
goes, but that is,
And that's why they said, subject to confirmation of details such as partnerships.
cause I mean, if the
specific
gardens were going and we could partner with them, be great.
Mhm.
Yeah. And see, this is where the disconnect is.
Yeah,
These got businesses that are going, you may have one of our biggest attractions going, and nobody's talked to each other to say, let's join up and go together.
yeah. So this just came, what was, just a couple weeks ago.
Well, last week, somebody called and Melanie answered the phone and they wanted us to give our credit card and secure this. And I said, no, this has to go to council, so I'm not sure who she spoke with.
Whoa,
Okay.
okay.
I don't,
Wow.
I'm not approving,
Well, yeah, so I assume that the people going, like the mayor spoke, was gonna pay for their own.
They're paying for their own
accommodation.
accommodations.
Yeah.
Or making their own arrangements.
Yeah,
This is in another year budget anyway, so if you're gonna contribute to this, you would need a pre-approval,
Oh,
because it's in April.
right.
Budget year ends in March.
And will the Explorer Guide be going this year?
I do not know.
It would travel with them. 'Cause that's
We
a
would
staple.
definitely,
Have they
That's a
reached out?
staple.
Have they said they're planning to go?
No, Darlene is not going too many places right now.
Okay,
so
okay, so I think we need to reach out to some other, like Mike said.
do they have numbers of what they, I mean, somebody said they had a great time, but do we know what?
no, it was
Bringing in?
busy, it was successful. It wasn't just a great time, but
Mhm.
I wasn't there, so you'd have to talk to that particular business owner. There's still time, because we missed the deadline anyway, to reach out to the gardens, explore. This Fort Ann probably does their own sort of thing
Oh, it's
federally,
worth asking anybody. Yeah.
right? And see if anyone is going.
I think Medic should do that.
Is
And then
that-
I think the other problem hurdle we're gonna get is, it's the upcoming budget, so. I think the proposal might be, maybe we can take town items, put them up there.
And, you know, I assumed, someone from Medic would be willing to like represent one day, and, you know, if we are working with maybe Trish, give her a day off or whatever, and she can man the booth, or, you know what I mean?
Well, if some people are staying up, they can do the late shift, and those that are
Yeah,
driving
it's a
up
long
for
day.
a few hours. You show up for noon, you do
Yeah.
4 hours, and you leave
Have
at 4 o'clock.
people, and, yeah,
Pardon me.
so it needs to go back to,
What about somebody from Fort Ann?
oh, yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
Put somebody in the
See
theater,
what Ted's saying, and
Yeah,
right?
I would imagine federally, I'm sure they're probably doing something.
Mhm.
Just nice to make sure that we're represented. Lewisburg,
Yeah,
Might
it's
be
great.
good just for
Bay,
the medic people that go to it,
Halifax.
just to see what it's all about again.
yeah, I've never gone to the,
so it's good exposure if it's done right.
yeah,
If the numbers are there,
Right.
like, there's a lot of shows in Halifax, boat shows and stuff, and it all depends on what they're running for numbers. Going through. So,
So
Motion?
council will simply request that they line up their partners and
Yeah.
confirm those details, yeah.
So are we abandoning that motion as well?
Well, we're not abandoning it.
No,
'cause I'm
we're
sure
just
we'd get
taking
into
it back
trouble.
to them.
Taking it
Just
back.
providing direction, yes.
Okay.
yeah, Just providing direction.
okay.
But there was a motion on the table.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Okay,
But rather than
Fine.
defeat it, which is
Yes.
not, I think, the point that we're trying to do,
okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
just suggesting another way.
another direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move that council approve the removal of the paid advertisements from the town crier newsletter effective March 2024.
So that means,
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay,
I
discussion?
need to,
I think the discussion is nobody,
no more
puts
ads,
ads in,
no
right?
more ads in there.
Kim may even be able to
Correct.
chime in
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
this.
we get to the point where we're not getting any adverts at all.
And you can't
And I think
collect
it's
on,
because they're not paper.
you can't
That's
collect on
it.
them either,
It's,
right?
it's, you can't, and the ones
Mhm.
she's getting,
Yeah.
it's just the
Mhm.
struggle of collecting the money.
You
It's,
have to be proactive to read it. You have to go onto our
Yes.
website and
Yeah.
click on it
Yeah.
and.
There's nothing tangible.
Yeah.
And
Pick up and
do we
look.
even know what kind of numbers are we getting of people who click on that page?
I don't know.
Because I suspect really low.
But did we not talk about that
Doesn't it
Medic
get emailed to you?
about,
No.
You can have an email
there's an email
that goes out.
list
Yeah.
on this thing, but it's huge. It's not like 400, it's like thousands that go, that are on this email list.
And everybody agreed there was value in the email.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it's, that whole digital town crier needs to be looked at as a potential of what it can actually do. And then I think, then you can go back to the ads afterwards, because if you could say, hey, we're touching base with 2,000 people or 4,000 emails going out once a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem with that is it could be, former residents of Annapolis who live in South Africa.
But they're still gonna be touched and they're still gonna see, I don't know, New Garrison has owners or.
Yeah.
What do you mean, you know what I mean, like some changes, I wouldn't put in this Saturday, I'm doing a paint special, but I would do seasonal stuff that are coming, new restaurants opening up, new menus online, whatever, something that people can grab.
Yeah.
We're missing the digital side of it that I think needs to be,
It needs to be tweaked.
it does. So removing the ads now makes sense, I guess, but I think Medic needs to take a solid look at that.
Yeah,
When I look back over previous Town Crier publications, I noticed that yes, the personal ads for local businesses do taper off in the winter months, but then they pick up again in the summer because that's the tourism time. So I've noticed just going back on the town's website, clicking on the various publications over the months, it picks up in the summer and we do have our local businesses, not a lot, but we have about 4 or 5 and they advertise in the Town Crier and then it tapers off again. But I think if we promote it and businesses are willing to pay to advertise, it's an income stream. Why wouldn't we allow
Well,
that to
staff
happen?
pointed out that it's not an income stream, maybe for the work that's involved, and the people aren't paying their bills.
Well, now they have to pay upfront before we put their advertisement in, so they have to pay.
Right, so I know that has happened in the
Yes, it
past.
has.
I know I've advertised through the Town Crier and I've just gone on an automatic renewal and then I've been billed for, say, 4 months and you just pay that and it just rotates and I stop in the winter and I advertise again in the spring and it wraps around.
What are you advertising? Like,
No, just my job,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
because it's exposure, right?
Mhm.
And it's read by residents of the town and it's good for businesses. And I've noticed some other local businesses have advertised.
Well, I can see people that are coming here to visit,
Mm-hmm.
coming here to travel, and then, of course, they then look for houses. I
Yeah.
can see that.
But it's not just, the Town Crier is not just for tourists, it's for locals. There's a lot of very, very good information in that. I read it, every time it comes out, I read it.
Right.
The chief does a page, our mayor does a page, there's information about recreation, what's going on in town, initiatives at the school, like there's all kinds of good stuff in there for locals to read. I just don't think we promote it enough and it's difficult to find on the website. So I think we're not utilizing a
I
publication.
think it
that
should
we
be more of a push and then instead of a
Mhm.
find.
Yes,
Most digital documents like that, you get the email, it comes to you once a month. It automatically gets sent out an email, you get it, you open it up. If you don't like it anymore, you unsubscribe.
Mhm.
But you're telling people, go to the website, go hunt through it,
Mhm.
find it, that's where it is. And it's just one little step. And all of a sudden you got a document going out that, well, look at the Explorer. They
I
do
know.
the same thing.
they have a
Mhm.
huge reach.
But you don't go find them, they reach
It
out
comes
to you, right? And they're always pushing and that allows them to sell all their ads,
Mhm.
which allows them to do what they do.
Right.
So, going in circles a little bit, but I think Medic needs to take a look at it and come back to the town and say, look, we can do this.
Right.
And it could be so much better and we can do,
And for
Right.
example, with the Explorer Guide, you pay one fee for the whole year, depending on the size of the ad that you're putting into their publication, and it's a one-time fee, and that's it. You've bought into their annual, and then at Christmas time they'll continue to do promotion, and if you've paid into that for the year, they will push your business through social media. They'll just keep you on the loop.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to look at something like that, put an ad out to local businesses at the end of the year and say, if you're in, you're in, you pay one fee and then that's it. They're
Okay, so
in.
you want this referred back to Medic?
yes,
I
I
would
do.
love that to be referred back to
There
Medic.
we go, dealt with.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can I just say, I much prefer the hard copy of the Town Crier. I read it every time it came out. I know it's probably expensive and I also advertised in it.
Yes, if you would
And
like
on a
to,
yearly
if you would like
basis.
to receive a tangible copy, you can just let us know and we'll we do still mail some copies out upon request. And if you want a printed copy, we will print them for you right here.
And
We
you
do
have-
that for people.
You do, and you have them for pickup on the front desk
We
as
do,
well.
yeah.
Yes, because people specifically ask for print copy.
And I've delivered one to a local person I know that doesn't have a computer. I'll pick one up
Yeah.
and deliver it.
so can we table this one then?
Well,
Would that-
we're-
would
we're
that-
gonna take it back to
Medic.
Okay.
Okay, good. Board of Police Commissioners, motion one.
Whose turn?
Is that me?
I think it's you.
Okay.
Is it me?
It's you,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I did that one.
That council approved that 25% of the net revenue from the Trident program be placed into the capital reserve, but allocated to the police department. In case of funding emergencies, it can be used by the town as needed.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes. I think it's important that we define emergency. So in the event something happens, that we don't just casually say, oh, well, we'll just dip into that money. It
Yes,
has to be in a defined emergency.
it says a funding emergency, so we have no other funds.
It's yeah, it would be,
We have to, this is a capital reserve and we're gonna have to pull from it if we get into a funding emergency.
Okay, so we have a zero balance in the capital.
Or not enough money
Something
to cover
major
something
happens,
that,
right.
like some catastrophe that
Okay.
we've got to.
like a
Okay.
water emergency or.
And council decides if it's an emergency.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's fine.
definitely,
Yeah, we
And
don't
that's-
just spend it, it would come this way.
Okay,
When we discussed this at the board,
Mhm.
I said, the chief wanted that in there because he wanted to be clear that if the town needed it, we could use it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's how it works, right?
Yeah, that's.
If we
the
need
worst.
it,
That's right.
there's a reason we need it and we're gonna use it. And then start back at zero and build it again.
Mhm.
But he was definitely wanting that part of the motion, so
okay.
I don't think it's necessary, but
If he wants it, I like the idea of the 25% as well, because instead of it being a set dollar figure every year, it's a percentage. So that's a motivation for the Trident program. The
Mhm.
more they make, the more they keep, or it gets put aside.
Right.
Yeah, so allocated to the police. So it's a win-win. That's good.
I was just going to say,
That's fine.
despite what our CFO says, anything could be a funding emergency. Council could decide that funding emergency is barefoot in the park. And-
No, but then we'd be accountable to the public and.
But meaning funding emergency,
Yeah.
you, doesn't have to be $0 in our bank account.
It just means we've run out of money and we don't have enough funding to cover what needs to be paid.
But we want to.
Yeah,
out of the general reserve.
yeah,
So are you ready for the question?
capital reserve, yeah.
Ready for the question? Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Thank
Nice to
you.
get that one done.
I have my mayor's report, so we can go on to the chief administrator's report. It's in front of me. Yes.
Oh, I had a question about that. The CAO's report, she mentioned the placemaking project.
Yes, that's the one that was down at the market and on the wharf this summer.
Yes,
It's a project that never seems to get finished.
okay,
Like there's so many little parts to it. There were many,
Yeah.
many moving parts.
yeah.
So they're trying to fulfill,
oh, yes.
make sure they get it all done.
Yeah.
On finishing the small project. Okay, so the finishing what part of the project?
That I don't know.
We don't know the
We can ask
details.
her, no, because there were many, many moving parts. Remember the tables and chairs was the stage?
Yes,
So there must be something that's left before they can put the report in, because they
Okay.
have to report on the funding.
I can't
Okay.
remember what the last thing would be.
But that's
They
the
did
only
wharf.
placemaking project we had was
Yeah.
that.
yeah. I love the changes and I love the additions and I really do. I just felt on some of them, I didn't know that they were gonna happen until after they'd happened.
Cause we wasn't.
I wasn't involved, like the-
We wasn't
None of us
part
were involved in it.
The telescopes, the
Mhm.
great addition,
Yeah.
but I never knew they were gonna happen
Mm-mm.
until, anyway. I was just curious to see what the next piece
It was a
was.
strange, it was a strange grant.
Yeah.
It had to be, you could not get it unless you partnered.
Right,
So then there was a committee of the farmer's market and Arrow and the Board of Trade and the town. And so it's quite a complicated thing to accomplish. So you had 4 parties to it.
yeah,
And they came back, they would report periodically to council, you know, that they ordered the tables and chairs, but you didn't necessarily know when it happened
right,
because they're on their own schedule.
Mhm.
So stuff just
It was
happened.
complicated.
Like the mural got done one day and oh, there's a mural.
Yeah.
right,
But we knew, you know, we were told these things would happen, but you're right, people didn't know when, so.
Yeah.
right, okay,
We had little surprises that
Yeah.
were very nice all year.
okay.
So council was never asked about the telescopes.
I think that was all in the original, but people forget, there's a big project going on and people forget. I think all of that was in the initial application.
Okay.
Because that strikes me as something that council should have approved,
Now, well,
because it, brings more people to the end of the wharf and potential liabilities.
okay. All right, so that's it. So a question for Sandy. We'll make sure it gets asked. You have the planning services report. Anything around that?
No.
Fire is included. Then you have the water tests. And then we come to, okay, water medic.
Oh, can we talk a little bit about the water test? I know I'd asked a while ago for a mineral scan. I know that we do it, I think it's quarterly. But I don't think it's often included in our package.
Okay, so we'll ask about the quarterly report.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and on to medic. Anything to add to this report?
No.
Okay, you have it for you. And we did get a wrap-up report on Natal Day.
Yeah.
So, and that was a huge job, I have to say. How many sponsors? That's what I mean by the amount of work in some of these.
Yeah, and we're still not completely wrapped up for 2023, because there really needs to be a complete picture of how monies were spent and just making sure. I will be taking everything to an accountant to.
And was it 14,000 in sponsorships and stuff? It
Something
was
like
huge.
that.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of small
Yeah.
sponsorships. Anyway.
Yeah, it all
Great to
adds
see
up.
the
Great.
report.
Yeah.
Border police report?
Yeah.
Okay, you've got that. And next, PHAC. You have that report as well.
Straightforward.
All right. Twinning committee, there's nothing to report at this time. There's no twinning committee yet. We're waiting for Medic to decide, recommending something. Library report, Councilor Weir.
Yes, the library board met virtually on the 15th of February. Numbers for the Annapolis Royal Branch, I won't bore you with those, but just to tell you that they're up, continuing our trend from last year. The big issue for the town of Annapolis Royal was consideration of our proposal for spending of the Evans funds disbursements. Resulted in a very lengthy discussion. And I'm not sure if we've been informed yet formally, but our proposal was rejected. I abstained from the vote, and everyone else voted against. I had asked that the vote at least be postponed until a plan was put in place of what to do with the funds each year, because we're talking about $52,000 to be spent on the Annapolis Library, and they were unwilling to wait.
So what happens next? Like another.
We get a letter saying,
Do you go back to?
well, we'll have to decide how to
Yeah.
respond.
They want to continue working with the town to decide how to spend the $52,000.
Okay.
So unanimous rejection.
I will say that other than the board chair, most others didn't really have anything to say.
Okay.
So.
Disappointing.
Not surprised after his speech today, but I think I know what he's saying. Okay. And on that note, you have a further report.
I don't, because we didn't say
Oh, you
it.
didn't say. IMSA board was this morning, and I will not bore you with the details. The meeting was under an hour, including in
Wow.
camera. It was lovely, and there'll be more stuff coming out, but there's nothing major going on. This is my report. EAC, we have that report. Thank you for that. The condo board.
So the condo board met yesterday at 4 o'clock, and the financials were distributed by email, but some members didn't receive them. We think there might be an email glitch, so they were not voted on. The property manager gave an update on window assessments and plans for repair. Minor repairs to some of the units. The new hot water tank installation is complete, and they've also assessed the windows in the hub. One of them is leaking in the Dugar meeting room. They've seen that. They've seen the evidence of the leaking. So that will be addressed. They've got a fire safety plan is in its final stages of being updated. There's been a complaint received regarding the timer lights on School Street, and they've identified that they need a new timer, and that's being ordered. Masonry company is putting together a quote for required repairs. Repairs to the portico, the main entrance, are being looked into because that's got some rotted wood. And a local arborist has recommended the removal of 2 small trees that are growing too close to the building. So a motion was passed to remove the trees. And that's it. And Kim, I've sent that report to you. You've got that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we've got the pool report.
Except there is just one update. So the pool have contacted us to give us some great news. The County of Annapolis is donating a generous $60,000 to support the redevelopment and repair of the pool, conditional upon proof that all funding partners have approved their own contributions. So huge.
Yeah.
Very, very generous.
Lovely.
And it's really exciting.
Yes.
Ask a question. I'm still relatively new, but we owned the pool, correct?
Just the
Town.
property and stuff. Yes.
So why is there, I know we are not in a great financial position, but why is there no discussion about our assisting with repairs to our, no discussion about our potentially contributing something to the repairs to this
Oh,
town-owned facility?
there's our standard 8,000 a year that has gone in, and they'll be back at budget time for 23, 24. But like that was what was approved in the past, was 8,000 a year. And they will be coming back with another request, we believe, for 23, 24.
Because I mean,
Haven't made
that's
it yet.
24,
8,000.
24,
25.
25.
What is it now?
Yeah,
For
the
the running of the
8,000 is
pool.
for the running.
No,
Yeah,
that
but
they
they won't
run
be
it
running
and they
this
own
year,
it, the
so
Presby
that's
Pool
correct.
Society own it.
But they don't own the pool, they don't own the equipment. If there are assets, they manage and run the operation of the pool.
They're not, the pool isn't on our books.
We debated that before, that it should be and always, my impression was it should have been under our books.
The Friends of the Pool pay, they raise the money and they,
They operated.
They operated on behalf of the town,
Yeah.
but it was never, ever that we would wear our assets. Do we not have them under our insurance?
yes, we insure them and so do they.
In fact, it was always double insurance.
It's double
up until
insured.
a time ago, because the lawyer came on and said with pools, more insurance is
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, well, that's,
So we carried double insurance, the town did, and we required them to, that stopped some time ago, but. yeah,
well, they
that
were,
was the
I know
original
when
agreement.
they stopped, because when I was mayor, we stopped it. And it was, they were paying for their own liability to cover the board, and they were covering for liability coverage for the pool. They weren't covering for the assets. They
So
weren't covering for pumps and buildings and any sort of equipment that's on that site. As far as I'm understanding, it's
Oh,
always been part of the
should be.
town. And if it's part of the town, there should be a discussion at some stage of what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
And then whether it's at the time of
100%.
budget or at the time they come back and say, yes, we've raised this amount of money, we've got this much sponsorship, this is what's owing. That might be the time to have the full discussion on what we're willing to do.
Yeah, I think where you should start is the existing written agreement. I think that's the logical place to start from. Everybody needs to review that, just understand the deal that we do have.
But
Like we
we,
have a
I
not-for-profit.
can send that out if you want.
Yeah,
I do
you
have
can.
the,
For
okay.
sure, but
but we
deals
do,
can change and.
Yeah.
we do own the property.
Yes,
And
Right.
if something were to happen and the Friends of the Pool suddenly said, we're done, we
'Cause it's
would
a
be,
volunteer
we would
group.
have,
Mm.
we would be responsible
and
for
that was the
that.
reason for double insurance.
It's the same thing as the playground that was done in downtown.
Mhm.
That was created by a group that
Right.
wanted to build that.
Yeah.
They raised the money, they put everything in there, they were done. And now it's town. Skateboard park. Raised by volunteers that
Right.
wanted a skateboard park, it's now an asset of the town.
Yeah.
No difference in this pool. And but I know there's always been a debate on who owns what, but we could have that discussion and close it out.
I think we should
Can I-
revisit it.
Can I just ask a question about the insurance? Like, shouldn't everything be insured? Like, if your pump breaks, shouldn't you be able to say my pump
No.
broke?
That's wear and tear. So
But-
wear and tear of equipment is not an insurable claim.
That's repairs and maintenance, right?
Right, so if you all of a sudden had a lightning strike that blew your pump, you can get coverage for that.
Okay.
Or you had somebody come in and vandalize it all, you can get covered
Okay.
for that, but general wear and tear of liners and pumps are
Okay.
not part of
Okay.
insurance.
Yeah,
Just
so at the
sure.
start of the season last summer, right away, the pump
Yeah.
failed.
Right.
And there was a delay opening the pool because they had to order a new pump that cost $10,000 straight off the bat, $10,000, just like that. And we were, I think, 10 days delayed opening.
Yeah, and that's a lot in a short
It's a-
season.
But it's a huge amount for a volunteer organization who've just fundraised, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask, like this big project. They're doing an amazing job and I'm super thrilled to hear that the county is donating.
And there is
That
a,
and
there is a
money.
written agreement, so that's where you start. is
Yeah,
looking at
well,
the
then
written
that's
agreement,
what-
Make sure you understand.
Yeah,
We can pull the insurance to the section on insurance, Melanie, for the pool. So people
Yeah.
understand the coverages that are there.
yeah, well, that makes sense to me, wear and tear, it's the same as anything, I guess.
So I just suggest you take a look at the document.
But it is a town asset and it falls into preventative healthcare that we just spoke about.
I know, we just had a whole
The
meeting,
blue zone.
presentation on it.
Exactly.
No, there's a lot of people, all ages.
And it's a
all-
life-saving lessons for the pool, for children. It's water aerobics for seniors.
I'm gonna
Huge.
put out the public washrooms that were put in this town. The town went into debt to fund them, and it's a public washroom. You know, this is healthcare forever, there's jobs for kids, it's,
Mhm.
the benefits go on and on with this facility, so I think putting it on our budget agenda for this full discussion, I think is well worth it.
Yeah,
I agree. Yes.
because it's a lot to ask volunteers just to raise money all the time for upkeep and stuff, but this is a major
Yes.
amount of money. Okay.
The accessibility committee has not met. Okay, there's just two short items for correspondence. I'll deal with the quick one first. The quick one is two students, free students for 6 weeks, May 6th till June 28th. So it's free student labor. It's two programs, but they have to be supervised. And there are two students who want to come. If the town has a well-defined tourism-related project. So you have two options. Somebody could take on the project, or basically the students could go to Claire. That's another option. So to get their
Okay.
experience, because it'd
Where
be in
would
a
they
French
stay,
environment.
do you know?
But that's the point, because
Yeah,
now
that's-
arrangements have to go out for billeting.
Mm,
The last student experience was not the most
Yeah, but-
successful.
most of them have been
Most
fairly
of them have been,
good at-
but action would have to be taken now if this were at all to happen.
Right,
But there is a plan B, which is, they're willing to approach Claire and just take this off our
Oh,
hands.
that's right. Okay.
So that's the message, and it couldn't really wait because of
It
timing.
needs-
We
yeah.
need to get back to them, so
Okay.
what do you wish to do?
Do we have a job for them? Do we have a
We'd
supervisor
have
for
to
them?
create one.
Well, we had a whole bunch of conversations about things a medic wants to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to be tourist related. I think the jobs are there for somebody to work with whoever doing the initial work anyways, they can assist them in that.
Mhm.
I think the question of whether or not we can get billeting for them is the question that maybe medic puts it up to the town. I would like to see it stay in Annapolis instead of going to Clare, because it was a relationship that was, they're here because of the relationship with us,
Mhm.
you know, and if we can continue that with our twinning city, then I think that's the way to go.
So the deadline for the town crier is Friday, so I would suggest we could put a call for billeting, put it out there.
Yeah.
And any project ideas that they have. But the town has designed the last 4 that we did.
Mhm.
The last one was this town brochure superimposing the Delabat map of 1710 on Google. That's the project that AHS is attempting to complete,
Mhm.
but that was last year's project. So we just have to come up with a well-defined project, which I'm sure we could do.
Yeah.
But we could ask for project ideas, so if you like that, we could just put that in the town plan
Yeah,
for Friday.
sounds good.
yeah.
get it out there right away.
Yeah,
So
for
people-
sure.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so we'll do that. The second one is, what are we gonna do about Monsieur Dugas' day, Dugas Day? The reason is Parks Canada are working on their brochure and they have to get it out. So
Okay.
their promotions team needs it for them to finalize their list of special events for the coming season. So, Ted Dolan doesn't want to do anything until he knows what the town is doing, if anything.
Mhm.
Now, the town crier has already volunteered to do, if the town wants to do something.
To do a cry, you mean?
She would be willing to give a talk on Dugas de Mont at the
Oh,
amphitheater
yes.
on June 18th, a lunchtime talk. I kind of bring your lunch and hear about Dugas de Mont kind of thing. She's offering herself up for this. June 18th is a Tuesday. She'd be happy to organize this event with the town's support and optional rain venue.
Okay,
So so it looks like Parks Canada could run with the event, do some promotion. She's willing to do this.
okay.
So, and then all we'd have to do is come up with,
Like a
whatever
picnic
costs
with
it
the
is.
guy or something.
Was last year we had the movie at the theatre, we had the.
But that was the launch, it was a
Lieutenant
big, it was
Governor.
the inauguration
That
day
was
for the
huge.
event.
Yes,
So whatever we're gonna do is, if we're gonna do annually, it should be doable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like what,
She's come up with a very
Christine-
simple.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
If
little
you're okay
lunch
with
I
and
this,
think
more.
I
we
can
should
get back
follow
to
her
them.
lead on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, go, good, you dealt with my two issues, of course, they couldn't really wait.